Hello, Tolkien geeks, and welcome back to Voice of Geekdom. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dan, and welcome to my guest co-host for the evening, Miss Helena, the clueless fangirl.
I love that
How are you?
I love that people think my name is Helena, which no, it's not. Comes from an old name, but yes, I'm good. I'm very excited to talk about
Yes.
this.
We've got some big news. Just dropped yesterday. Tweeted out of the blue. Lord of the Rings on Prime. The Twitter account doesn't really like to tweet too often, so I have it on alert, so I get notified whenever they do tweet. So straight away, I saw this picture yesterday, and they also gave us a release date to expect the show, which is in September the 2nd. Next year. So we've got about 13 months left to wait, which is obviously 13 months too long. But it's a little bit later than I was expecting. I was thinking maybe kind of like April, May.
I thought it would take the old Game of Thrones spot in April. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of the same period that these Marvel shows that we've just been watching over the last few months. This time next year, that's what I was expecting. Yeah. But it's not too bad. Honestly, as long as they kind of finish it to the best of their ability, I can wait. I don't want them rushing this show out before it's ready. But yeah, it's super exciting, and we should see promotional material start to step up, I would think, from now on.
I mean, yeah, well, they've been slow with everything, so I don't know how their marketing campaign really works. But
But as you've been reminding me for 18 months now, it's kind of, the apocalypse. So
exactly.
Although we're in the post-apocalypse now, we're moving into the post-apocalypse, I'd like to think.
Let's knock on wood, people, everybody.
But yeah, it's super exciting. And the image that we got along with that is even more exciting from my point of view. Because, I looked at this image and my first thought was, wow, that looks really pretty. I'm expecting this show to be,
visually
to look gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just, and it does look gorgeous. Let's get the picture up on screen. So I've got it on my second monitor here, so I'm just going to turn down my light so I can look at my monitor without blinding myself. And
How professional, Dan.
So we've got what looks to be Valinor. My first reaction when I saw this was, oh, there's a pretty sunset in the distance, and then what is that? What is that?
Yep.
Oh my Eru.
Oh my Eru, exactly.
So we can see what is indisputably the two trees of Valinor off in the distance, which makes this Tirion.
Exactly.
Presumably.
Yeah.
It's on a hill. It's in a valley which looks suspiciously path of light-ish.
Yes, exactly. I think the valley keeps the location, gives the location away. So I really do think this is Tirion. I would say so. Yeah.
So after I got over the shock, I ran out of my room and ran to the kitchen, and my housemate was in there doing some washing up or doing some prep for her dinner or whatever she was doing, and I was just like, I have to tell you. Lord of the Rings on Prime have released a promotional image, and let me show you this because it's got the two trees of Valinor from the Silmarillion in it. And here's my housemate's like, I've read Lord of the Rings. I haven't read the Silmarillion, Dan, so I have no idea what you're talking about. And so I had to explain this is directly from the Silmarillion, from chapter 1 of the Silmarillion, and it's just beautiful to see. I never thought we'd see this.
Yeah, that is one of the feelings I had as well. I mean, you kind of literally texted me. Sorry, my cats are annoying again, people. So you literally texted me, "Oh my God, Helen, the trees!" You basically gave it away with that, so I couldn't even look. I
spoiled you. That's true.
You spoiled me, but
I should have just been like, go to Twitter, but I didn't think of it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, epic. I mean, come on, people. My channel is all about the first age and the second age, all the time before the ages, because yes, this is before the first age. I've seen a lot of people saying welcome to the first age, and I was like, yeah, well, no, the first age basically mark the two trees being dead and the sun setting, therefore basically
I
replacing
count.
light.
I count the first age starting with the first sunrise.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because the counting of the days also changes, right? And this is what the trees were about. The trees were basically, they gave the numerology for counting the hours. When one was blooming, the other one, didn't bloom. Then they had an overlap. And this is how time was counted in Valinor. And the first age marks, the sun setting and the sun and the moon replacing basically Laurelin and Tirion. So I didn't really get why people are saying and still keep saying this is the first age. So that's wrong. And I do think a lot. I mean, do we want to start with the trees now that we're talking about them?
We're talking about them already. I mean, I'll just say my next reaction was, well, I mean, my housemate then said to me, she said, "So is this going to be good for your YouTube channel then?" And I said, "Yes, it should be." Or what I really said was, "Huh, you're right, it will." Or it should be in theory. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I had about 100 views today on chapter 1 of the Silmarillion, which is
Yeah.
titled "The Two
Yay.
Trees of Valinor." It's not the chapter title, but it's what the title of my video.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not amazing or anything, but it was noticeable.
No,
people,
yeah.
people googling this all over.
Of course, people want to know. I do think a lot of casual, book readers or people who are interested in the show, they looked up Numenor in the past. I really do think that, because that was all over, for the place for now since they released the maps. It was almost 2 years ago or something like that since they released the first map.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously people were interested in the second age and Numenor and the forging of the rings and that time spent. But now we get, even better material. Although, to state that, I don't think the whole series or even a part of the series will take place in the years of the trees, because I don't think they have the source material. I don't think they have the rights for it. It doesn't make sense, to go that far back. That would be another show, and then connect it to Numenor. That's just way too outstretched. Too many things happen in between. You can't cover that in one show. That's another show for itself. But I do think. Should I start with that? Because I do think this is a prologue we're seeing here.
Yes.
Very similar to what Galadriel did and what she did in the Lord of the Ring movies, how they introduced the reader, aka the viewer, to this world basically, because you can't start, right off in the Shire or somewhere. People are like, what is this? Who are these people? So it's important, to have a framing, and I do think this is the framing for the show. And why not use the same character? But let's keep talking about the trees. I
mean, the trees don't belong in the setting that we've been led to believe that this show is going to employ. They are thousands of years before, hundreds of years before the start of the first age. So, and as you explained, the time scale in the years of the trees is radically different. So there's about 9.5 years of the sun, which is a normal year that we're used to in the real world, to each year of the trees. Tolkien describes it in the Silmarillion as the deeps of time, which is, it's the prehistoric era, which only the elves remember.
Yeah, exactly. So there was, just to explain to the viewer, so there was basically the creation of Arda, which was around, so Tolkien calls these years of the, not trees, but the other, let's say the other time counting, he calls Valian years. And then there was basically around 2000 Valian years was the creation of Arda, so the Ainulindale. Then you have around 1600 years of the lamps, when two lamps illuminated the world basically, and Melkor. Okay, my cat just drank my tea. Thank you very much. So Melkor destroyed those two, and then you only get to the years of the trees, which are around 1,500 Valian years. So like 13,000 years of the sun. So this is insane. If you know, the first age is 590 years of the sun. So alone that time span where the trees stood and illuminated the world were 13,000 years of the sun. This is like crazy. So the three, let's say, three times before men awoke and before the sunset are really, really long. And I think this, you need to take this into consideration, you know, when you talk about this image here, and probably this being Galadriel or whoever, we will talk about that later. So just keep that in mind. This is a very different time. And yeah.
As far as time goes, we have got one big clue about, we have a window to work with here, because the other really big feature in this photo, which is, you know, the centerpiece of the scenic view, is the city here in the middle ground, which there's two possibilities. But I think that the consensus is that this is probably the city of Tirion, which is the capital city of the Noldor in Valinor. So the Noldor
before the Vanyar, before the Vanyar lived there.
Yeah, the Vanyar do live there too. The Vanyar, I think, mostly live in Valmar. That's my impression, which is kind of the capital of Valinor. But
yes, they used to live in Tirion, and then they gave it up to, you know, live closer and move closer to the gods. And then Finwë took over the city, actually. So he took it from the Vanyar.
And the tower in the middle there is called the Mindon Eldalieva, I think. Probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but sue me. And the one thing that makes me think perhaps maybe this isn't Tirion is that there's no lamp at the top of the city here. So at the top of the tower, there was said to be a lamp which lit up a beam which kind of pointed out towards the sea, like a kind of lighthouse, really. So we can't see that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't Tirion. It's just, you know, it might be a detail that we'll see in a later shot, perhaps, or.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it being in the valley of the two mountains, I think that speaks for me. That was the impression I got. So for me, it's Tirion. And I think Tirion is the most important regarding all the characters, you know, that play a big role in the actual show then later in the second age, because it's about the Noldor. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, we're assuming, and this seems to be the popular assumption, that this is going to be part of a prologue montage, as it were. And I think it depends what that prologue entails, because it could be the story of the First Age and the fall of Morgoth and Beleriand and so on, or it could be the story of the Noldor. And the thing is, we're going to be spending a lot of time in Ostin Erdil and with the Noldor in the Second Age. So we could well want to focus in on simply the story of the Noldor, which, you know, is the story of the First Age in many respects, but we might laser focus on just the Noldor, if you see what I mean. It begs the question, what are we going to see immediately before and after this shot in that montage sequence, you know, because there's so many possibilities there.
Yeah. So what I do think, the dialogue, because I do not dialogue, the monologue, I do think Galadriel will tell the story of her birthland. I really do think she will start with something. This is where I'm from. This is, you know, where my heritage lies. This is where the heritage of a lot of elves, you know, I mean, yes, that they were born in Crivienan, but most of the players, literally everyone besides, who will be alive later on, besides Círdan, was born in Aman or in Middle-earth even later on. But most of them were born in Aman, so mainly Tirion, wherever they were born, in the Undying Land. So I really do think this will be her telling about, this is the story of my people. We once lived in a very peaceful land. Because, you know, remember, all the end of the Lord of the Ring movies was about them leaving and going to Valinor, right? So this would be like a very good circle. And, you know, you can start basically where the films ended. And I would really love to see that when she says something like, this is the heritage of my people, this is our birthland, and something happened. And then there will be a flashback of the tree. I mean, obviously, I hope to see Morgoth, but I don't think. I think she will be that. It will be more like the trees are destroyed now. This is, and some family things happened. I don't know. She will be super truthful about Fëanor. I don't think we will see Fëanor, but she mainly.
But they probably should explain him, though.
They need to explain him, yes, because they need to explain why did they leave, right? Because she must explain, oh, why did you then leave this magical land you're just showing us? And it can't be just because the trees are dying. There must be a reason. So maybe you see the rebellion of the of the Noldor. I don't think too much. I don't think we'll see.
We could see some version of the oath in some fashion.
Yeah.
I wonder whether they'll take some liberties with the storyline in order to summarize it as well.
Not.
I hope not too much, but I mean, you're a big fan of the prologue scene in the Lord of the Rings movies.
I love it,
and they certainly do change things there, as I've discussed before on my last podcast, actually. It's it works fine for the most part.
It does.
So that might happen. Something to consider. But as I say, I mean, the city of Tirion was built by the elves, so we know that this is after the elves arrived. And we know that it's before the trees were destroyed.
Exactly.
Which gives us a kind of a window with which to speculate who this could be.
Yeah.
So this is the third big feature of this photo.
And wait, just to go back to the tree. So what do you think? These are, because people have been speculating on Twitter that this is just the reminiscent, what is left of the trees after the destruction, because that would open up a whole new world. So because the trees still stood, they were not completely gone. The Valar didn't burn them or anything. So if you say these are not the blooming trees, this is not the year of the trees, this could be... She's drinking again, sorry. So if these are not the blooming trees, that could mean this is maybe, this could be Eärendil, for example. This opens up a whole new possibilities for who's that character, what will we see in the prologue. But I don't think so. First of all, it looks to me, how does it, I mean, you're also visually very strong. So what do you think? Do you think this is...
Well, it has the feeling of somebody arriving there. It has that feeling of like Tuor coming to Gondolin, or as you say, Eärendil coming to Valinor. I don't think it's Eärendil, but they may well want to tell that story as part of the prologue. I mean, my assumption is that is the trees and they are in bloom. I mean,
I think so too.
It's possible that it could be the sun shining out behind the ruined stumps of the trees, which is an interesting idea. But but in all likelihood, this is the years of the trees, as we said at the beginning.
I think so. Yes.
And I mean, there's a host of characters that this guy could be, or this girl, I should say, because we don't. That's another matter of debate that's been on Twitter for the last 24 hours.
Oh my God, yes.
Is the sex of this individual looking out into the valley at the trees and at the city here. It looks like exceedingly short hair for an elf, but we have had reports that short-haired elves will be a thing, which is fine. I have no problem with this. But
if you have a closer look, it really does look like it's a bun. So it's like, when you, I don't know how it's called in English, when you do this, braid. It's like a braid, exactly.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, people are, let's talk about the most obvious, Galadriel, maybe. Let's talk about her.
I've got a list I've written down.
Yes.
Here. I think there are two main contenders, and I'd be interested to know whether you agree with that. But I mean, I think probably my main contender is Galadriel. Although I do think that is short hair for Galadriel. She's kind of known for her shining hair.
I know, and And this is what I was wondering, because the thing is, she looks at the trees. The trees tell the story, and I mean the Silmarils, or what this is about, right? Why did her family have to flee and all that? That is part of. Her hair plays a big part in that. I know this sounds super weird for people who don't know, but her uncle, who created the Silmarils, basically Fëanor, the guy we were just talking about, he was inspired, it is said, by her hair, which which was so radiant and so beautiful, and it said the hair caught the light of the two trees, you know. So, and you don't imagine that. I'm a girl myself. I have long hair. Can't see it now, but I do have very long hair, and I'm not a blonde. But the thing is, you know, when somebody says that about your hair, then your hair is open. It's not in a bun like hair, right? It's open, flowing hair, how we imagine Galadriel and how she was depicted in the movies, and that would make sense. That then, you know, the light of the trees is shining in your hair. If you look like that, no. But you know, it is said, and shout out to Lexi. She said that on Twitter. She found the passage where Tolkien says that she braided her hair exactly like this when she went, you know, riding, or when she was participating in whatever activities. I get that. Again, being a girl myself, I do the same, because long hair is really annoying when you do sports. So
Yeah,
she doesn't
she
look.
probably has a swimming cap when she goes swimming as well. You know.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
I do understand the concept of hair. It's been a few years, but
I'm just talking from coming from a female point of view with
I
somebody
know,
with long
I know.
hair. I just try to explain why maybe this can still be Galadriel and why they're not depicting her hair. I think it's weird, because it would make sense to show her with the long hair, because she's literally looking at the trees, and that is very symbolic. So I find that weird.
Yeah. I think it's an unusual depiction of Galadriel if it is Galadriel.
Yes.
My first impression was that this was a male figure, but that's by no means, you know,
From the posture, or
from the shoulder and the neck. It looks like a man's neck to me.
yeah.
I don't know,
But you know, she was said to be really tall, really physical. So, I mean, one of her names was Man Maiden, which sounds really bad, but you know, yes. But how
Narwen in Sindarin, I believe.
exactly, exactly?
Yeah.
I think all of us have the image of Kate Blanchett in our head, and I think it's kind of confirmed that this Morfydd Clark, or whatever her name is, plays her, and she also looks very, you know, rather tiny, and
Yeah, she's not tall.
yeah,
But we know from previous adaptations that doesn't have to be an issue.
no,
John Rhys Davies was the tallest and widest cast member of the Fellowship, and
no,
he played Gimli the dwarf,
I know,
and nobody ever noticed.
I
So
know,
you know they can do anything they want with this.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, other candidates other than Galadriel, and she is my leading candidate as well, by the way.
yes, yeah,
Even though I think it's a strange take on the character, and perhaps the perspective is making her look different than she will
yeah.
up close. My other main contender is Sauron, which is an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that possibility? Because we're going to want to see Sauron in the prologue too.
I mean, hello, I'm just here for Sauron, basically. And I watched Corey's video. Shout out to Corey Olsen, Tolkien professor, and he made some little side note, and he said, yeah, he's all here for sexy Sauron. So even, you know, the sexy Sauron even reached Corey. So people, this is trending now. No, obviously we want to know, and this is the character we know quite a lot about Galadriel, even from the Wit movies and stuff like that, you know, just talking more about movies now than books. We know quite a lot about her, and we saw quite a lot of her, and people obviously want to feel and know one character they know and can relate to in a new show. It's easier to introduce a new world, new characters with somebody you've seen before, right? I mean, it's a different actress, but still the feeling will be very similar. Sauron, I would be so excited because the thing is, we don't know anything about him. He was literally an evil eye in the prologue. He was this evil figure clad in his black armor. I want to know his backstory, and his backstory also is in Valinor. He had a different name
Yep.
then. He had different. You'll explain to us in a second what that all was, but I mean, give him a backstory, because he will be one of the main players. That is no doubt. It wouldn't make any sense because I heard Sauron is not in the first, in episode 1. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
They said he was going to be in the whole. He wasn't going to be in the whole first season.
Season, not episode, season. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? No, don't.
I'm not sure that's true. I've got varying amounts of confidence in the various different bits of information that have come out recently from the OneRing.net's spy network, which, no criticism to them. They're just gathering information and putting it out there. But I think even they would admit that they don't know for sure some of these things necessarily.
No, and it doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, you need to set up a character. He can't just come in because you always need, this is a fight, good versus evil. Still, this is the main plot line here, right? And
one possibility is, though, that the Sauron could be in disguise for the entire first season.
Yes.
And then we wouldn't know that it's him.
Well, he could be Anatar, or, he's a shapeshifter. He can be someone else, you're right. Maybe he's a bat, but the thing is, I really want to know his backstory, and it would be fun if he introduces us to his Valinor, where he's a Maiar. He is a really important figure, just like Gandalf. He had a job to fulfill, right? He was working for somebody even higher up than him. He knows this whole world. He's been there forever, basically. He sung the world into being. So, it would be cool if this is him. But what would he tell? I would ask myself, because his role then he wasn't even turned by Melkor during that time. I mean, he could tell of his beginnings, that he was not always the bad guy. I don't want that, though.
Okay, I'm going to throw a possibility out there. What if another piece of information that's come out about the show is that the pilot episode will be a 2-part episode, which will be kind of a standalone introduction to the world,
Yes.
and then we will get the continuation from that point, from episode 3. Will be probably jump some time after that point. What if the 2-part pilot episode is Sauron's origin story? It's the story of how he was corrupted by Melkor.
And then the other part is him corrupting all the other people, the Nazgul, the 9 former kings, the elves. Yeah.
Well, I mean, why not? If Sauron is the main character, we need to know where he comes from. There is a problem with this figure in the photo being Sauron, and that's the fact that Tirion is there. Because as far as we know, Sauron wasn't there after Tirion was built. He was corrupted before that time. So.
Was he? That was my question.
So he would have been in Angband by this point.
He would.
So if this is Sauron, it's a non-canon kind of invention of this show to have him here at this time, which is possible. He could have been there in disguise. But it's a point against that logically. I would say.
I mean, I really like the idea of the Sauron original story. That I love that. That is really good. And I've had the first 2 episodes of pilots being, being a bit different and a bit more standalone-ish than the series then later on, which would make this completely, could be. But it could also be like a longer prologue like we had in the Lord of the Rings, just into 2 episodes like Galadriel did about Valinor and the heritage of the elves and the beginnings of the elves and stuff like that. Sauron is the most unlikely of the, I think, probably 3 we'll be talking about today.
Okay. That was my second choice. So I'd be interested to know who your second or third choice might be, because
you don't
I've got a
know?
list here. So you go first.
Okay, Glorfindel. I think this is Glorfindel. Yes.
That's your theory. That's your number one theory, is it?
Yes. No, okay. I know it's Galadriel. I'm like 99% sure it's Galadriel because it makes cinematic wise, and they think cinematic wise. They don't think lore or book, or they don't want to satisfy us. I think they think, how can we introduce this world? Who do the people know? Who's the most, intriguing, one of the most intriguing character? I don't think they want to do this with a baddie. I don't think they want to do this with Glorfindel. Nobody knows about him except book people. So I want it to be Glorfindel. This is my number one, but I think it's Galadriel. But my second guess is this is Glorfindel, and it would make so much sense. He was there from the beginning. If you remember in the books, he had that scene, because he was, re-embodied, brought back by the Valar. That was in the Third Age in the movies, where we not know him from, because Arwen had the role, but that was his part. Yeah. And he was the one who cast the Witch King, who spoke that curse out. He was sent back the year the One Ring was forged. He was sent back by the Valar, re-embodied in 1600 Second Age. What happened in that year? Sauron forged the One Ring. So he is such an important character to what we will see. He was born in Aman. Still have the theory that he is basically Galadriel's cousin. He is the son. So Galadriel is the granddaughter of the High King of the Noldor, and he would be a grandson of the High King of the Noldor of Finwë, because he's the son of the second daughter. This is my theory. She went with him through Helcaraxe, Irime, Findis, sorry. And yeah, so she's his mother. So he is related to Galadriel. He was there all the time.
So that makes them half first cousins, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Because it's different grandmothers.
No.
So does that not work? Or
no, they don't have different. They don't have different grandmothers. Finwë and Indis had 4 children.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, because neither of them are Feanors, are they?
Yes. No. Ooh,
yeah.
No.
Sorry, I'm getting confused.
No, they were just regular first cousins. He wasn't there then, because he died in the First Age during the fall of Gondolin. So he wasn't there right from the get-go of the Second Age. But I think that the show will be placed around the forging of the ring. So he basically comes back around that time. So that makes him a really valid candidate, I would say.
Yeah, he's on my list. Yeah. He was bottom of my list, actually.
What's happening?
Because I think it's much less likely than Galadriel, as you said, because it's a character that we might see for similar reasons than Galadriel, but as you said, it's just a less recognizable character.
Yeah.
I would love this to be Glorfindel too, but I don't think it's likely.
What?
So my next on my list is Celebrimbor.
Yes.
Who's definitely a character that we will see as another Noldor who would have been there. It's a character that may well have been... I can't see him kind of gazing in on the city like that. That's the only thing I have with that possibility, because he was somebody who was off exploring and mining and making things and doing crafty Noldor type stuff.
I mean, yes, that is true, but who is he? He is a descendant of Feanor, and Feanor and the trees are so closely linked. So he could stare at the 2 trees that inspired his grandfather to forge the Silmarils, objects of unheard of beauty. So yeah, could make sense. I was wondering if he was born in a month because we don't know. I don't think Tolkien tells us.
I think we kind of know that he probably was born in the years of the trees, but we just don't have a year. I think I'm right in saying that, but
okay,
because we covered him, didn't we? So I'll leave a link in the top corner for that right now for people who want to see that.
Yeah.
And I think I remember saying that. That was the conclusion of my research on that point.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
it would be interesting because, as you say, he has, during the forging of the rings and the war with Sauron, he has such an important role to play. And, well, he was fooled by him, basically. And we think of these elves, especially the elves born in Aman, under the light of the two trees. They are very, special. They are clever. They are wise. Well, Sauron fooled him.
Sometimes they think they're a little wiser than they really are, don't they?
They are. I mean, it's the Noldor, but maybe it's a Feanorian blood in him or whatever. But yeah, haven't thought about him. Really good. Like it.
Yeah, I wonder whether you said about the trees and the light of the trees. I wonder whether the next shot after this one will be a close shot of whoever that figure is, and we'll see kind of like a glint in their eyes as though they're, different and special, as we know they are. They bring that fierceness, that fire inside them, and you can see that in their eyes. And the elves of Middle Earth realize that when they come back, that they're different and they've been changed by it.
Yeah.
Should be cool to see. Did you have any other suggestions? Because I've got a list, so I'll go down the list if you haven't got any others. But
yeah, no, the thing is, I had many before I realized the trees are really blooming, and I don't think it's the dead trees standing. So that so many characters then fall out of the list because it's the years of the trees and they were not born then. Eärendil wasn't born, all these characters that were on my OG list were not born because this. Like, just look-wise, ignore the trees blooming. Look-wise, this looks like Eärendil coming to Valinor, pleading with the Valar to have. He's alone. He knows, okay, I really have to do this. I'm all alone here. This is this magnificent city in this beautiful surrounding, and then I have to ask them, and which no one ever dared to do before. This is like what this image kind of tells you, right? The feeling that it gives you, and I have to plead with them.
Well, the city was deserted when Eärendil got there, so
but
it does kind of look deserted, but then it kind of doesn't. I mean, if we zoom in here a little, you can see
there's ships.
There's a ship in the middle of the river, so something is going on there. There's some activity, and if you look here where my cursor is, you can see potentially figures.
And even the bats and stuff. Yeah, so I would say,
and this one here near this gondola, and maybe
I love that we're like doing. I always laugh at people, who over analyze stuff, but here we are.
Well, I've already been zooming in to this image all day today, so I've already picked out I've been wondering what these orange glows are here.
Yeah, I'm just seeing this now. I was looking at it on my phone the whole time, so you don't have the.
You mentioned Corey. A shout out to Corey once again. I watched his stream as well last night, and he went over my next character on my list, who this figure might be. He considered whether this could be Feanor himself. And his conclusion was, oh, wait, no, nothing is on fire, so it can't be Feanor. But then he spotted this little orange glow, and since then I've been wondering about that too. But yeah.
But, oh God, to really... the first image you drop for a show and make this person Feanor is crazy because you won't see a lot of him because he literally dies a few moments after he reaches Middle Earth.
Yeah, so I wonder whether Feanor won't even be named in this prologue. It might just be a character that's clearly Feanor who's not named.
She could say my uncle, or exactly. So I don't think it's him. Even the posture, he would look way more arrogant. The way he would look, I don't know.
The
for me.
outfit doesn't look very Valinor either. It's not red enough. It's too
The thing.
white and
Yes.
pure and Vanyarish, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it looks more like Aredel, the white lady of the Noldor. But then she
She's
also
got a
had,
white cloak.
she did, yeah. But like she had long dark hair. So again, yeah, no,
Yeah, there's a lot to mull over. I think probably not Feanor either for all the
no,
reasons I've just said.
no.
And so my final suggestion was that it could be Melkor himself, which is an interesting possibility. Who you did have on your Twitter poll that you made. So you'd
No.
consider that possibility at some
Yes.
point.
Yes. Yeah.
Any idea whether that might be Melkor? Because I brought up what are we going to see immediately after this? Because obviously the next step might be to see
That was
the trees dying.
exactly. That was why I put him.
We know who's responsible for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was why I put him in there, not because the figure looks anything like Melkor, because even during that time he was already, far gone, and had this
We're
planet.
told in the Silmarillion that when Melkor was incognito in Valinor, he would float about as a cloud, so he wouldn't even be taking humanoid shape. Although, of course, he did impersonate people in order to spread rumors about the sons of Finwë in order to create that schism in the Noldor in the first place. So maybe it is Melkor in deep cover.
Yeah, it was more the looking at the two trees and be like, haha. I mean, you can't see, the face of the person if it's smacking and being like, yeah, well, you'll be gone soon, you'll be burning soon. They didn't burn. Spoiler.
Yeah, this is what we have to go by as an outfit and a haircut. So
I mean, we're analyzing costumes now. No, I don't think it's him. And then again, you need to explain his whole backstory. Then you literally need to go deep into the Valar, which they won't do. I don't think they give us the religious aspect here. I don't think that will play a big role because it's too much. Then the world would be too open. You would have too many topics if you bring in the demigods. This is too crazy. So I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a slight possibility that we might see some of the Valar.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, Manwë does have a role to play in the Numenor story. Because he becomes a giant eagle cloud ominously late on in the story, who kind of imposingly lurks in the skyline above Numenor to sort of warn them about their evil deeds, and they don't take that warning. Of course, the eagles, as you said earlier, do end up living there in Numenor as well, and those are Manwë's eagles. So there's a slight possibility that we'll see Manwë and potentially Varda, but I don't expect to see a lot of Valar and Maiar in the show. Undoubtedly, we will probably see Maiar at some point, I would think.
Well, the thing is, I was talking about that. Oh yeah, I was on Robert's stream and we talked about the possibility of the Blue Wizards coming into the show, and they are Maiar. And I do think you need we will have Sauron. I mean, don't believe that he won't be in the show. We will have Sauron in one form or another, and you need another, because we won't have Gandalf, and you need another magical counterpart because he would be way too overpowered. He would be the only real magic user, so powerful during that time, and that doesn't make sense. I really do think you need another magic user, aka Maiar, whatever.
Is there a possibility that we could see Elorian? Gandalf in his disembodied state? Probably not. It's
I don't want,
probably
and I don't
unlikely.
want it. Yeah, and I don't want it in a way. Like, I was happy with his story in the movies, how it was.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right. Any other final closing thoughts on the image, or any details you want to pick out? Because we've gone through my list of candidates for who this could be, which is the hot debate issue at the moment.
Yeah, I do think it looks like a woman. Yes, very tall, but that's what she was supposed to be. I think, I think it's Galadriel, and it would make sense. storytelling wise. Plus, she was literally the person, well, her and Kirdan, but he won't have that big of a role. Well, and Glorfindel, but during some time he wasn't there. He was re-embodied later on. They are the only people who lived through all this and can tell the story, till the movies in the Third Age we saw. These are the only people. Not even Elrond. Elrond isn't born during this time we're seeing here.
Nope.
Yeah, so I think it's Galadriel. And it would be beautiful for her to narrate a prologue again and tell her story, because she was just there to aid Frodo, right? Or to aid the Fellowship. But now this is another another version. It's the focus is different on the show, and they have the time to go deeper into the character. So I think it would be beautiful, to hear this again, her narrating the story and framing the whole thing.
Okay, I mean, that's a solid conclusion, and I've got no sort of real bones to pick with that. All right, I think we'll call that a day for now then. What have you got coming up on your channel?
I don't really know. I want to go. I mean, this changed everything in a teeny tiny little bit. So tomorrow I'll drop I wanted to do it today, but I didn't have the time. I'll drop a top 5, answering exactly what we did here, just in the shorter form, in like 5 minutes or whatever, video about what to expect and a bit of speculation. And then I will continue working on important bloodlines in Middle Earth, like the bloodline of Elrond and Galadriel and stuff like that, to explain these family trees a bit better, and to get a deeper understanding of why certain characters are so important, and what role they had to play, because a lot of them do, and sometimes you don't even know about it.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. As for me, I've got the Silmarillion Explained. Will be coming out tomorrow, the second half of chapter 15. So look forward to that. It's probably about the same time tomorrow.
Yay.
In theory, I've still got some editing to do, so I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out on Thursday, because as you said, this has changed things for me this week.
Yes.
In a big way. Speaking of changing things as well, I mean, this is really, I should say, this has really kind of motivated me as well.
Yes.
You said it to me yesterday when we had a 10-minute conversation about all of this yesterday, and kind of squeezed in kind of our first thoughts. So this was the first time we've had a proper conversation about all this. But I'm so excited now, because this is Silmarillion, and this is, I always think, you and I are thought of as being the Silmarillion Tolkien YouTubers, really. Like, we've both kind of got a reputation for loving the First Age and doing lots of content on that, which is great for both of us, right?
Yes.
So
and we can do a fun stream together again, a longer one, talking about one character. We will find we can continue our goodies and baddies series or whatever.
We can talk about that.
Yes, more stuff
off camera, but yeah. All right, great.
It's holiday time here, so I really need a holiday. It's been a long apocalypse, people.
Yes, it is. I definitely need a holiday too. All right. So we'll say goodbye for now. This is going to be relatively unedited, because I want to get this out as quickly as possible. But we'll see all you guys soon. Thanks, Helen, and goodbye, Tolkien geeks.
Bye, my lovelies.